Well, hi everyone. Welcome to our Wednesday encouragement. Thanks for joining us today. Before we go to our devotional thought, I want to remind you about a couple of things that are coming up here at Cherry Avenue. For one, our Day of Opportunity is back. On Saturday, May 6th, we're having a morning where we work to spruce up the church building and campus. You don't need any special skills, just your availability, and we'll get some good stuff done. That's Saturday, May 6th from 8 a.m. to noon. And if you're interested in learning more about Cherry Avenue or joining the church, we're going to have a class about that coming up soon. There'll be an item on the Connect card in the bulletin you can mark, or you can just email us and let us know you'd like to be a part of it, and we'll get you on the list. Parents, we know you love your kids, but you need a little time of your own once in a while. We want to help. On Saturday, May 13th, we're going to have our Parents' Night Out. We have a lot of fun planned for the kids, including dinner, Mother's Day crafts, games, and a lot more, all while you enjoy a few hours out to yourselves. There's no cost, but we do ask that you sign up your children so we can plan the food and supplies. And you can do that by going to our website or scanning the QR code on the screen. That's Saturday, May 13th from 5 to 8 p.m. A short while back, ESPN did a story that caught my eye about a Jewish teenager who was forced to choose between his faith and competing in the Maryland State Cross-Country Championship meet. See, the meet was on Saturday, and Saturday is Shabbat, or Sabbath. Oliver Ferber ran cross-country for Charles E. Smith Jewish Day School. And while the others on the team were also Jewish, not everyone observed Shabbat as strictly as others. In fact, even Oliver's family had never treated Saturday really any different from any other day of the week until the pandemic, when Oliver began reading and studying more about his faith, and it led him to become more observant. And for him, that meant, among other things, strictly adhering to Sabbath guidelines. Now, the problem was that the state championship meet was on a Saturday. He got advice, both solicited and unsolicited, from all over. His coach insisted it was okay to run a race on Saturday and that the team needed him. His mom told him he owed it to his teammates to run and that she had talked to relatives in Israel who had all said it would be okay. School officials insisted running a race on the Sabbath was allowed. There were a lot of people putting a lot of pressure on him that he was letting down his team, his school, even the Jewish people if he didn't run. That's a ton of pressure on a 16-year-old. But Oliver just couldn't get past the fact that the guidelines say you're not supposed to do intense exercise that you don't enjoy. And he said, when you're running up the hill, every step requires effort, and it's hard, and it hurts. He said, I just wanted to live my values. So after running with his teammates all year and earning a spot in the championship meet, he watched from the sidelines. And this is the line in the story that really caught my attention. It said, what do you do when everyone you trust is telling you to do one thing, but you're pretty sure you're supposed to do the exact opposite? I thought back to when I was 16 and what I might have done in a similar situation. My senior year, my school baseball team made the district tournament championship. The game was on Saturday night, but I wonder what I would have done if it had been scheduled for 10 o'clock on Sunday morning. Would I have gone ahead and played, saying, well, it's just one Sunday. I don't have any control over when they schedule the game. Or would I have said, guys, I want to be there, but I have church on Sunday morning. I can't play. I can't honestly say I'm sure I would have chosen to go to church. I know I would have heard voices in my ear from all sides giving contradictory advice, including other Christians who would have said, it's just one Sunday. God will understand. I also know that my heart would have said, you should focus on God first. But what do you do when a lot of people you trust are telling you to do one thing, but you're pretty sure you're supposed to do the opposite? What do you do when the culture says one thing about life and you know the opposite is true? What do you do when the culture says one thing about sexuality and gender and you know it's a lie, but there's so much social and political pressure to go along? Do you stand up for what's right in a loving, caring way, or do you compromise? What do you do when you've got company coming for the weekend who don't go to church? Do you say, you're welcome to come and visit and we'll love to have you, but just know that on Sunday morning we go to church and we would love to have you join us for that? Or do you just skip it that week? What do you do when culture says biblical teaching on sex and marriage is outdated and impractical? Do you go along, or do you do what you know is right? Jesus challenged us in Matthew 10, saying, Anyone who does not take up his cross and follow me is not worthy of me. Now that's a pretty high standard, but he follows it with this promise. Whoever finds his life will lose it, and whoever loses his life for my sake will find it. In other words, real joy and real life are found by putting Christ first and following him rather than the comfortable things of the moment. And here's another promise Jesus gives in Matthew 6:33. Seek first his kingdom and his righteousness, and all these things will be added to you. Jesus was encouraging his first century followers not to chase after money like the pagans, because God would provide what they need. I think to us today, he'd encourage us not to chase after popularity and social acceptance or the pleasures of this world. That if we put him first, the love and acceptance of God and the community of believers and the joy of being in Christ will prove far more fulfilling, both in this life and in the next. So what do you do when so many are telling you to do one thing, but you're pretty sure you're supposed to do the opposite? The reason I ask is that after Oliver had to sit out the state championship meet because it was on a Saturday, then he and his school petitioned the State Athletics Commission to move the state meet to a day other than Saturday. And they did. And when did the Athletics Commission choose to move it to? Sunday morning. Wonder if any of the Christian kids will even suggest moving it to even later in the day.